Sibingelela igama lami umhlengi Sibongo Mzilemu from Elite Radio. Kanti namhlanje sibingelela sikhona laphaya emadadeni khona e-Science Center njengoba kuyiyona i-World Space Week. Kanti-ke simenyiwe-ke namhlanje na-ke ibona-ke abakhona la e-ArcelorMittal Science Center emadadeni ukuze sizokwazi ukuthi sazi kabanzi ukuthi kwenzakalani uma ngabe kukhulunywa ngokuthi i-World Space Week. Nawe uzokwazi ukuthi ufunde ukuthi kwenzakalani ezintweni ezikanje. So inazo-ke ihambeli engizoxoxa nazo ukuthi zingichazele kabanzi ukuthi kwenzakalani. Ngizocela nje ukuthi la eduze kwami bhuti ubingelele uzethule. Oh, please introduce yourself.
Okay, so my name is Daneil Matsapola. I am a space scientist by profession, but my job is space education manager at Sansa Earth Observation in Pretoria.
Maybe if you can start by unpacking your job, what does it entail? What do you do?
So space education is mainly concerned with supporting science, technology, engineering, and mathematics education. So we are developing the next generation of space engineers, space scientists like myself, researchers, technologists. And so we know that they will come out of the mathematics, geography, physical sciences, life sciences, and all the subjects that are taught in basic education. So we start at the very basic education level, and we work with schools and partners, as you see we are here. And then we graduate all the way to tertiary institutions. And what we are ultimately trying to achieve is to narrow the gap between industry, where the principles are applied,
Yes.
and academic education, where the theory is shared with the learners, so that they begin to see practically how the theory they are studying gets applied in industry to solve problems, to unlock value, and to grow the economy.
So basically you are bridging the gap, of which it's a very good thing.
Yes.
So maybe if you can start by telling us about Sansa as to what is Sansa and what does it actually do?
So Sansa is an agency of the South African government that has been mandated to use the platform called outer space, up in outer space, from 100 kilometers above mean sea level, in extending infinitely outward. We use that platform to bring benefits to society. The kind of benefits we bring is the kind that is made possible by the development of satellite systems, rocket systems that launch the satellites into outer space, and we put together ground stations on Earth to interface with the satellites that are orbiting around the Earth, delivering services to the people of Earth in various application areas. For example, one of the nice things you may be aware of is that we are receiving direct to home television via satellite. These are satellites we build and launch into space. Meteorologists predict weather more accurately using satellites in outer space. We build these satellites and we develop applications from the data that these satellites send. Some satellites have cameras and sensors on them that send data down to allow environmental managers to be able to monitor the environment, long-term monitoring of the planet, since we are the species that is responsible for stewarding the planet. Yeah.
I also heard that the satellites also, when we talk about the internet, there's satellite involved.
Yes.
So it's a very
telecommunication,
broad, it's a very broad field.
satellites.
So let's talk about space science and technology. What is its importance? Why is it important in South Africa?
So South Africa is Africa's most industrialized nation, which means that for South Africa to stay globally competitive, it has to constantly innovate, because being number one in Africa in terms of economic productivity means that you are the Kaizer Chiefs of Africa. Everybody wants to dethrone
we
you.
See now. I see what the team you are favoring, but continue.
So, so looking at the land of South Africa, 1.2 million square kilometers of land and 1.5 million of square kilometers of ocean that surrounds us, Indian and Atlantic.
Yes.
This is huge tract of land and exclusive economic zone. You cannot monitor this with in situ management systems alone. It's cumbersome, it's costly, but satellites placed at strategic positions in space can help us regularly collect information that we need about these phenomena, these locations, land, oceans, and atmosphere. So at Sansa Earth observation, that's exactly what we do. We use satellites in outer space to collect information about the land, the oceans, and the atmosphere, so that we can make informed decisions on extracting, economic value from our oceans and better caring for our land in the era of climate change. So, how do we better monitor and know what is where on our land? So, we need to go out into space and look at Earth from that vantage point. Then we are better able to map our resources and be able to monitor them over time and extract value from them so that we grow the economy and sustain our environment.
There's a lot of monitoring that is being done. I hope our calls are not monitored. All right, so talking about the things that are being done by Sansa, can you please unpack some of the key projects or missions that they are busy with?
To understand the big missions of Sansa, understand where South Africa is in the League of Nations that are called spacefaring nations. So South Africa is still classified under the emerging category of spacefaring nations. These are nations that are running their own space programs that build satellites, rockets, ground stations, and infrastructure to meaningfully extract value from the platform called outer space. In space is always defined relative to the Earth. So you can't say the Earth is in space. So big projects would involve us studying the sun 24 hours a day and developing services that even the International Civil Aviation Organization has legislated that we must by law deliver to the aviation sector, for example. Every aeroplane leaving Africa or coming into Africa has to be fitted with space weather forecasting capability so that we protect astronauts from pilots from harmful radiation, especially when they fly the polar routes, Johannesburg, Australia. So those are big projects.
All right.
The moon.
Yeah.
The last time humans were on the moon was in 1972. More than 50 years later, America was trying to return to the moon. China is in direct competition. So it's no longer Russia and USA in the Cold War. Yeah. Now the real race is between the two superpowers, number one and number two. And South Africa is smack in the middle of this strategic position we hold in the Southern Hemisphere, where we are building the lunar exploration ground station in a little town called Fontein in the Western Cape province. That's a massive project that's going to generate us millions of dollars and euros and yuan, because our customers will be from all over the world as the world entertains the idea of becoming a multi-planet species launching from the moon. So the moon is going to be very strategic, and asteroid mining, and even the moon, it's got strategic minerals that will be mined to provide the energy required to launch to planets like Mars next door. Then you look at natural resource management program. That is a flagship of Sansa that will utilize these archives of data we've been receiving since 1972 when the first Landsat satellite from America went up. In view of the capability given to us by this fourth industrial revolution technologies like machine learning, we are able to better mine that data archive, petabytes of storage that is holding data of strategic importance for the Southern African development community. And currently, of course, we are building an operational Earth observation satellite called EOSat-1 at the Space Engineering Division of Sansa, because we want to have, you don't build satellites because you like to build satellites. We called the users of this technology in government and we asked them, what do you want this satellite to do for you? And each one brought their user needs. So we've incorporated them into the design of the satellite so that when the rocket launches this satellite to outer space, this satellite will be beaming down data that is used by people who are waiting for it, whose designs were taken into account before.
So it's informed by research.
It's informed by research and current applications. And we're trying to also cut the umbilical cord of dependence on other people's satellites. Because in this highly geopolitically charged environment, we cannot afford to be relying on other nations. That's why one of the biggest projects is what my brother next door is doing, the rocket launching. So we set ourselves a goal as a nation that by 2030, we want to be in a different category of spacefaring nation, which is called the intermediate. It's the bridge between emerging and advanced. We want to be here, intermediate, by 2030. So these are big projects that we are doing, and we are building a telecommunications satellite for the first time. All 13 of South Africa's satellites that have been launched into space from the first one in 1999 have been to low Earth orbit using foreign rockets. And now we are getting into medium Earth orbit and geostationary Earth orbit so that hopefully one time we will see ourselves supplying the 16 member states of Southern African Development Community with telecommunication services from a strategic position along the equator, 36,000 kilometers away.
Yeah. Let's talk about something simple now, because we need to also talk about basics. Let's talk about disasters, whereby there's also areas like weather. Now, in the past, it was very rare to be hit by disasters, but now it has become a norm. I'll talk about KwaZulu-Natal to start with. So I want us to bring it back to the satellite as to how does the satellite help there in terms of weather communication, in terms of the disaster management and stuff like those, because it's not like in the past. Now we will be surprised when it happens, but now we live with it. Every now and then it happens. So how will this satellite help us?
So sub-Saharan Africa is predicted to suffer immensely from global climate change. It's turning into an oven, which means our capacity to produce food and the regularity and intensity of this climate-induced phenomena is going to increase. So that is it. We know that is what is coming our way. In view of that, what can we do? We prepare. Infrastructure will be destroyed, but no human life should be lost. And so Sansa actively and routinely develops solutions that helps municipalities at the very local level, in fact, up to village level,
Yes.
with areas that are vulnerable to flooding, for example. The KZN floods, the Mthatha floods, the coastal areas are hard hit, and temperatures too are going to increase dramatically. So we develop solutions which we give to, if you talk disaster,
Yes.
our prime client is the National Disaster Management Center at the national level.
So it goes back to COCTA.
COCTA is the mother department that NDMC reports to, but there are also 9 provincial disaster management centers. Amajuba will have a district disaster as well. So part of the outreach work we do in communities is we particularly target at-risk communities, and we bring our specialists to come and workshop them on how to better build resilience, so that while we can't stop natural phenomena from unfolding, we can better prepare so that if infrastructure can be safeguarded, at least lives must be. So one life lost is one life too many.
It's too many.
So we develop solutions. Flood risk map. All municipalities in South Africa have benefited from the flood risk map, and the areas that have been hit hard, when we go after the events, they tell us that the Sansa flood risk map has 95% plus accuracy in that it predicted that those would be the areas hard hit. So it is now up to with local elections, government elections coming next year. It means that the workshopping of councillors that we have done is not the end. We need to constantly go back to communities and workshop the incoming councillors who may not have been part of the previous cycles of capacity building. So it's a constant and never-ending improvement journey where we workshop them on vulnerable communities, and chiefs who are allocating land. They need to be workshopped, and that's why the flagship project, Natural Resource Management Program, it's meant to help them better allocate land, better manage the natural resources that they are endowed with, so that they can sustainably develop their communities in the district development model.
Yeah, that was a mouthful. 3 years ago, 4 years ago, the way the global warming was used rarely, but now every day we use it. In fact, I think most of us now understands what global warming is. It no longer belongs to you. Even us as laymen now, we understand it.
Yes.
But moving on, let's talk about the role that Sansa play in educating or in encouraging young people to study science and technology, because science and technology it's not the future. In fact, it's the now, it's current, and it's also the future. We need to, even if I'm not in the science field, but I need to know what's happening in terms of science, in terms of technology. So let's talk about the role that you play.
Science is the bedrock of the economy. And if you look at the economies that are thriving in the world, they are dominated by science, technology, engineering, and mathematics graduates in large quantities.
Just as you are saying, I'm reminded of China. China has transformed a lot in the past. So they're taking big advantage of science, but you can continue.
Yes. And so as Sansa Space Education, we've developed a strategy that leverages existing platforms in the national system of innovation.
Yes.
See, the shareholder of Sansa is Department of Science, Technology and Innovation. And if you listen to Professor Blade Nzimande, the current focus is to place science, technology and innovation at the center of government, the economy, society and education. So in line with that and the Sansa vision to accelerate space innovation for the benefit and advancement of all South Africans, we set ourselves a vision to produce 450,000 science, technology, engineering, and mathematics entrepreneurs, investors, and wealth creators by 2030. You see, gone are the days when you just produce a lot of graduates, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics graduates. In this era of high unemployment in South Africa, we need to make shifts and add elements to the training of 21st century science graduates. And they need to be equipped to understand how to take the science knowledge that they are getting from curriculum and add an entrepreneurial mindset to their psyche, so that at the exit point, they are not just at the mercy of industry's absorptive capacity, but they can also begin to solve problems even while they are studying. That's why I said we are narrowing the gap between industry, which is the application environment, and education. The teachers of the 21st century science learner, science student, science graduate has to be a practitioner of the science that they teach. So those days where they were just delivering content, curriculum content, and them not being practitioners, those days are gone, because teachers themselves will suffer. What will they suffer from? Robots today are beginning to do the work that used to be done only by humans. And many of them will find themselves like bank tellers as banks close more and more branches in favor of automation that is brought by the ATM, an intelligent ATM that can serve customers' needs. Teachers will find themselves being replaced by machines. So we need to do a lot of retraining of existing teachers as well, to get them to be relevant to this fourth industrial and even fifth industrial revolution, which is predicted to be taking place in space. So we are well positioned as Sansa to be able to leverage that 5IR and be prepared and not be coming in 60 years after, like we did in the first industrial revolution.
Okay, let's talk about collaboration now, because when I came here, I saw that there were students, there were some facilitators, there were teachers. Let's talk about the collaboration now with the schools and the communities, especially during the Science Week. Tell us more about it.
Yes, so South Africa is one of a handful of countries that have a science engagement strategy that is approved by cabinet 10 years ago, in January 2015, in terms of which science and society must engage to improve and enrich life. And in that strategy, there are strategic objectives, one of which is to popularize science, technology, and innovation. And target segments of society have been delineated, from learners in schools, their educators, science interpreters in the national network of accredited science centers. Currently, there are 26. So we are here at ArcelorMittal, partnering with our long-term partner, ArcelorMittal Newcastle, Science Center Newcastle, to reach out to the youth of Madadeni and the surrounding Amajuba district, so that KwaZulu-Natal is not just left behind and is not just reduced to being a net consumer, but is positioned to be integrating these sciences into the new ways of creating value, so that they remain competitive in the League of Provinces in South Africa. Currently, KwaZulu-Natal is one of 3 provinces that generate double digit to GDP of South Africa, the other 2 being Gauteng and Western Cape. But how do you position yourself to double that so that the big population that you have is meaningfully engaged and extract value in a sustainable way? So partnerships are critical. The universities that will receive these young people,
Yes.
they are here. Role models who speak isiZulu, who grow up in KwaZulu-Natal.
Yeah.
It was unthinkable in apartheid South Africa that this can be a reality. But now, just 30 years down the line, look at what we are doing.
It's happening.
We are now playing leadership role. Let me give you another angle that is not so obvious.
Yes.
In the era where Africa is 1.4 billion population, largely youth, Africa is embracing space in a big way.
Yes.
With the African Space Agency being launched in April 2025. Countries like South Africa, Nigeria, Egypt, who have been playing big in this space, are going to be primely positioned to help the rest of Africa, as many of the countries are entertaining launching their first satellite, getting involved, building capacity, also using space technology to enrich and move the wheel of their economies faster. So we are in the prime position as South Africa to help our immediate neighbors and the rest of the 55 member states of Africa. For example, we brought a satellite model called ZA-Cube-2, which has been orbiting the Earth, monitoring traffic of ships in the oceans. That means KZN, Eastern Cape, Western Cape, and Northern Cape are prime candidates for that service. Now, we are just responsible for this Indian and Atlantic Ocean we are surrounded. There are 38 countries in Africa that have coastline.
Yeah.
That's a captive market.
Yes.
So whatever solutions we perfect here, they are destined for a broader market, and that will position us to create the jobs here. Each time we use a Russian rocket, American rocket, we are creating engineering jobs in those countries.
Yeah.
So now with UKZN building this capability here, we are now creating jobs for young Zulu men and young Zulu ladies. And that is what we celebrate even more, because the girl child traditionally has not been a prime candidate for this largely male dominated industry. Now, when young ladies begin to come in, majority of our population is women. So we need them also playing a role so that we can, make the circle bigger, and mothers would find it easier to transmit that wisdom to our children when they see other women meaningfully participating.
I was talking to another scholar after I arrived here, and I asked her what is she going to study in future now, because she's doing grade 9. So she tells me that she's now interested in science. So she says to me she's going to do a rocket scientist. But the question is, what are the opportunities, future opportunities for learners like the one I was speaking to, who is now interested in what you are talking about? And I think the word opportunity in South Africa is used almost every day, because it's very important that if I'm interested in something, I must know that are there any opportunities. So would you confirm, or would you tell us if there are opportunities for people like this girl?
A South Africa that is not launching rockets is not a South Africa that is launching rockets for itself and its neighbors.
Yes.
We like what we are doing with the moon project, Lunar Exploration Ground Station,
Yes.
we are not just targeting for internal consumption. We are truly looking at becoming the game changer in the game, leveraging our geographic advantage. So when the ecosystem of companies that are needed to support a rocket launch, because it's not just about the rocket, it's not just about the satellite.
Yeah.
There is an ecosystem around this rocket of companies. These are the companies that would be employing. My brother Toby is here next to me. One day will grow tired of earning a salary.
Yes.
And using his experience, he will found a rocket company that operates on that value chain. And he will be coming to find the next generation that would be his partners and his employees. So that could be the very young learner you were talking to, because we are making these investments now.
Yes.
So that when they come out, these opportunities will be ready for them, and industry's absorptive capacity will increase, especially when the STEM graduates are entrepreneurs, investors, and wealth creators, because those are the job creators, not the job consumers. So we are creating a fertile environment for absorptive capacity. We must work on increasing the capacity of industry to absorb the 900,000 matriculants who are writing exams as we speak.
Yeah.
Yes, when they exit the tertiary institutions, we must be ready. A graduation ceremony at the University of Venda must be exactly the same as a graduation ceremony at Wits University, with former students who are graduates and now running their own companies, putting up exhibition banners and snatching some of the students on stage as they graduate to go and wear their hats. Yeah, that's what we need as a reality, and it requires this inculcation of an entrepreneurial mindset. The problems we are facing in South Africa, every problem is a business.
Yes, they need a
The
solution.
more problems a country has, the more business opportunities it has. If citizens were the entrepreneurial mindset that says, let us solve these problems, like the others have done. China has solved. You used China.
Yes.
China used to have citizens in the majority who walk and cycle. That's in the 1990s. But China had a 50, 100-year plan that said in the next 30 years, and that 30 years is the early 20s, post-COVID. And what are we seeing in our parking lots? China's manufacturing capability has increased, and China is building cars. So we need to do that. Vision 2030, which is the National Development Plan, is right around the corner. We need to be thinking like the African Union Agenda 2063. I'll be 87 years old. I'm 49 at the moment. So if I'm still alive to see what will happen, the fruits or the forests that will mushroom out of the seeds that we are planting today in these young people. That's exactly what we are talking about. When I was young, these seeds were not being planted in a black child.
Yeah.
Questions asked was, why teach a black child mathematics when they can never use it? That was my generation. Look at what we are doing today. We are satellite engineers. We are building satellites. We are building businesses. We are building investment portfolios. The richest man on earth is an engineer who owns a space company and has South African roots. We are to learn a lot from that. If we can create an environment conducive for retaining that talent, then the richest man will not be in a foreign land, but the richest man will be from South Africa.
Okay, don't worry about aging until 87. China will make a plan to get you up until 100. So don't worry. Let's talk about now partnering. How does South Africa space work or connect with other countries as well as internationally? How does it plan to do that? Because I think it's also a very important element in order for us to grow.
Yes, South Africa is a signatory to the International Treaty on the Peaceful Use of Outer Space. That's at United Nations level.
Yes.
So we collaborate extensively, and we have been, from the days when we were isolated, that we could not participate meaningfully in international fora. But since the floodgates were opened, South Africa is co-chair of the Group on Earth Observation. South Africa in 2002 hosted the World Summit on Sustainable Development, out of which the Sustainable Development Goals came right after the Millennium Development Goals. So South Africa is a heavy hitter internationally, punching way above our weight level. We currently aligned to Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. We are a G20 chair this year after the Brazilians. So we are influencing. We are not just consuming what the world is offering. We are contributing uniquely South African innovations to the world. And so we are looked at as a nation that contributes meaningfully to the evolution, positive evolution through multilateralism. So through the Committee on Earth Observation Satellites, we now have been awarded UN SPIDER, which is one of the United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs agencies. We've been awarded UN SPIDER Regional Support Office for Southern African Development Community, which places us right smack in the middle of disaster management using the Sendai Framework on Disaster Risk Reduction 2015 to 2030. So we are driving the development, and in Africa, we are driving force behind the African Group on Earth Observation, where we want African countries to use Earth observation for sustainable development to unlock value, to connect the continent, in line with the vision, of course, of the African Union, of which we are a member. So we are leveraging from the Northern Hemisphere, and we are contributing to the global evolution as we steward the planet for the next generation.
So I know that Sansa is doing a lot of big things and a lot of good things, but what are the challenges that Sansa is facing at the moment, and how are they planning to solve them? Because I know that Sansa is very much interested in coming up with solutions. So how are they planning to solve these issues?
South Africa is still classified as a developing country. And in a developing country context, there are always competing priorities.
Right.
We have seen over the years that Sansa has been in existence a drop in parliamentary grant.
Okay.
And it's because of all these competing priorities, which is why we are pushing the entrepreneurial mindset. If we look at government investment in Sansa as a grant,
right,
then we will look to consume the grant and go back and ask for another grant. But if we take it as an investment, and then we see ourselves as the people who must articulate the return on investment by the government for every rand invested in the space sector, 8 rand will reverberate into the economy of the country in the many different forms, including graduating these 450,000 STEM entrepreneurs, investors, and wealth creators. So we need to wear the entrepreneurial mindset. And traditionally, government is not popular for being entrepreneurial. Government employees, government agencies, public entities generally are in trouble. So we need to set ourselves apart and rewrite the story of public entities as business enterprises with the intention to minimize the risks and maximize the growth. And we are beginning to see signs of that. The number of taxpayers in South Africa is significantly lower. I think it's about 7 million taxpayers in a country with 63 million people, according to the last census. So we need a lot of entrepreneurial mindset to solve many of the problems that we are facing as a nation, and to do away with the high level of inequality in our society. Those with the haves traditionally who've benefited from, old money, they are not going to give up that. But how do we take the 28 million beneficiaries of social grants and convert them into recipients of active market labor principles that Minister of Finance keeps talking about? That, for me, the 13.5 million learners in the system of basic education, grade school, taught by 410,000 educators in 25,000 schools. That's a market for space education.
Yes.
And if I'm the space education CEO, we need to develop products, services, solutions to unlock value in that market and work with social scientists to unlock new economic value estimated to be trillions of rands, not billions. And it's there, the laws are there, but the entrepreneurial mindset will begin to unlock a lot of value that we are sitting with.
Right. So can you talk to the student, someone who's at school now, someone who's at a university, someone who's at a college, who might be interested in working in space science one day? What can be your message to them as we are closing?
My message is, gone are the days when you studied towards landing a job in any sector.
Yes.
The new script is, while you are studying, find a Daneil Matsapola, Mthobisi Chomela, who is already in industry, to mentor you, to position yourself, to meaningfully contribute. Because like you are asking, what are the problems of Sansa? The learner in school should know, because we publish annual reports every year. They should be able to read annual reports and see that they possess a skill that can help Sansa achieve something it is currently failing to achieve. That is when we will talk of sustainable development goal number 4, quality education. That is critical. As we narrow the gap between industry and education, that is what we will end up with. So we come to school knowing how to speak, but not knowing how to read and write the words we speak. Being word literate, maybe let me close with this quote from a futurist, because that's normally the people who help us see what the future is bringing. The illiterate of the 21st century are not going to be those who cannot read and write. But the illiterate of the 21st century are going to be those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. So there are some learned things we need to unlearn. And that is how we are going to upgrade our operating software to be aligned with the times we live in, rather than use old, outdated industrial age scripts. So that's my last word to the young people. They are born with a gift of value. The world needs that gift. Education's job is to polish that gift. And then these young people must serve that gift, not just to their employer, but to the whole world. That is why I refuse to teach in school, even though I'm from a family of teachers. The whole world is my classroom. And I'm flying to the UK in 2 weeks' time to connect with like-minded people in the space sector at the CEO's plenary in Bath in the United Kingdom, as we become global citizens who think globally but act locally.
Thank you very much. That was a mouthful. But learn, unlearn, relearn. Yeah, I'm learning also, and I'm unlearning other things.
Yes.
So thank you very much. That was a mouthful. I think now, if you are watching this, you know a lot of new things that you were not aware of. Although I feel like there are a lot of topics that you touch that need us to go deeper, but because of time, we can't. But one day maybe we will unpack more things. So thank you very much. We'll pause it up.